I do not like how I don't like the response that we got from AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts from this game. Um, I think that the beef is not squashed just because AJ Brown had a good game. He had nine catches, 131. He was ideally emphasized in this game. Things we could have easily done with Devontae Smith. Um, I mentioned a couple last week. It's good that we get him, get him some throws early, we get him involved, but he's not the focal point. He's not a focal point of our offense. Um, and the fact that he whines one week and the next week he gets 14 targets is just something that I don't I think is going to destroy the team. Now what? Devontae Smith complained now because he only got 5 targets compared to 5 targets compared to AJ Brown's 14. You're basically telling me now every week we have to give 14 targets to AJ Brown. Devontae Smith's not going to be happy. And it's not like last week. It's not like last week Devontae Smith got it's not like last week Devontae Smith got less targets than AJ Brown. Devontae Smith is more reliable than AJ Brown. And that's case closed. On third down we go to Smitty. We don't go to AJ. AJ drops passes. He fumbles the ball. He's not always open, and sometimes he falls asleep during plays. If you look at the game, if you look at the previous games, look at the targets. Most of the time, it's well balanced. Looking at the game against Minnesota, AJ Brown had 6 targets. Devontae Smith had 5. Devontae Smith had just as many yards as AJ Brown did, the same amount of yards as AJ Brown did, with less targets against Minnesota. AJ Brown had 6 targets, 4 receptions for 29. Devontae Smith 131, 4 receptions, 1 tub, and 5 targets. All 5 targets. AJ Brown had 6. Let's go back to the New England game, right? The New England game, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith both had 10 targets. Devontae Smith had a touchdown for 47. AJ Brown had 73 and 79 yards. So when Devontae Smith does well, he does it with less targets than AJ Brown. And AJ Brown, when he has less targets, he gets upset. Listen, this is not a trend that I'm seeing. That this is not a trend that happens. Happened all willy nilly. This year, this is what happened last year. Smitty's a top 10 receiver and receiving yards. We just went to AJ Brown a lot of times in the goal line. But if I go back to last year, and I just pull up some games. I go back to last year and I'm just gonna pull up some random games, right? Let's look at because AJ Brown was complaining as well during the playoffs that the team wasn't passing the ball. But let's look at the targets on the playoffs, and then let's look at the last. From Washington on, right, where Hurts was healthy. If I go back to that game, I look at the box score. The Giants divisional game. AJ Brown had 6 targets. Smitty had 10, right? AJ Brown was not getting open. Smitty had 6 for 61, 1 tub, and we won the game against the 49ers last year, right? 49ers let Smith once again, our leading receiver. Devontae Smith had 3 targets, 2 for 36. AJ Brown had 8 targets, 4 receptions against the 49ers. I can't make that he had more than double his targets and less yards. All right, that's against the 49ers. Against the Chiefs, our number 1 receiver was Devontae Smith. AJ Brown, they were kind of even. Devontae Smith had 9 targets. AJ Brown had 8. AJ Brown was 6 for 96, 1 touchdown. Devontae Smith 7 for 100. So you never see Devontae Smith getting the most targets, right? And it's this hierarchy that you have. He's getting paid the most, so he should get the most targets. Now it's going to be Smitty's turn. We go to the Texans last year, right? How many targets AJ Brown get? 6 targets. Devontae Smith 2. We never heard Smitty complaining about targets. He's a top 10 receiver. This is a top 10 receiver in receiving yards. AJ Brown against the Steelers, 10 targets. Right, he had 3 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 8 targets. He didn't complain. Right. So when last one I look at the Cowboys last year, the AJ Brown had 8 targets, Devontae Smith had 5. We didn't hear both of them had 5 receptions, and I remember that game AJ Brown had some drops. AJ Brown is not a reliable receiver. He's a good receiver, but he's not a reliable receiver. And if you look at last year's stats, if you look at how we operated and how well we did last year, the regular season, Devontae Smith did more with less opportunities than AJ Brown. And this is the same story. I said it. I said he was underrated last year, and he underrated this year. Last year, AJ Brown had 1,400 yards, 1,400 yards. So basically 1,500 yards. Devontae Smith basically had 1,100. Devontae Smith had 136 targets. AJ Brown 140, 145. Devontae Smith had 95 receptions and AJ Brown 88. Devontae Smith had more receptions with less opportunities than AJ Brown. He's more reliable, right? And I go on to say that not to bash AJ Brown or anything like that, but what I am going to say is, and if I go to where is it? First down, Devontae Smith had 57, AJ Brown had 59. We don't need to force feed AJ Brown the ball. We have weapons that we can disperse things. If we force feed AJ Brown the ball, we're going to create a rift between our receiving core, and that's the last thing that we want. We've been doing so well, and Devontae Smith has been so humble about this. But after the game, hey, look, you don't have your best game or anything, Devontae Smith's a noble guy, but you got to make sure Devontae Smith gets more targets than that. We're talking about the most time we see a balance, not like this. So AJ Brown, I don't think it's rectified, because every time AJ Brown complains, you can't just say next week let's give him 15 targets. He has to suck it up, get open, and make most of his opportunities. Those opportunities are going to come. There's going to be a time when you're going to be vital. But if you're winning and you're winning and the team's executing, don't complain. I like the passion where it comes from. You want to get the ball and everything, but the AJ Brown has had more opportunities than Devontae Smith, and we never heard Devontae Smith complaining about it. Devontae Smith takes pride in his blocking. We never heard AJ Brown say anything about blocking. AJ Brown didn't come over here to block. He came over to catch passes. You're going to have to block over here, buddy. AJ Brown, the way we approach that and the way we respond to that is not the best way. It's not what you do for a team. It's not what you want to send to your team as a coach, of just getting him 14 targets so he can be happy. Because it's not going to happen game in and game out. We do the same thing next week? No, we're going to run the ball. So, AJ Brown, I don't like that. I think that's not how we coach. It's not going to work like that.